Good afternoon. It is April 7th, 2026. You're listening to a little column A, little column B, hosted by Will Alimonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? Congratulations to Michigan. They go and win the national championship. UConn got as close as they possibly could get. You took a shot. I took a shot. Illinois took a shot. Finally, Michigan was able to prevent that from making it Hurley winning 3 in 4 years. So I would say partial disaster averted. Are you happy that a Big Ten team has won the national championship for the first time since 2000?
I'm happy UConn did win. Although I suppose whether they won or didn't win, the fear that I actually had throughout the entire game, even down to the last second, of which Michigan's in control of this, it didn't feel safe. And that they're a legit basketball school, and this is a nightmare that I'm going to have to fear year in and year out. That being said, I was rooting for Michigan, and I was rooting for them yesterday. This morning, my attitude has shifted a little bit, seeing how I'm a Michigan State fan, and I didn't realize we were supposed to be getting dogged today. I didn't realize we lost yesterday. There's suddenly a target on our back, as if this team represents the Big Ten. Congratulations for them. They beat us twice this year. I'm not sure why we're taking shots, but congratulations to them. They were the better team. They were the best team all year. Do you have any doubts on that?
Yeah, they're a pretty good team. I think that they, were in control most of the year. I think you'd have to say any team that, beat Michigan. I mean, they had to also be a pretty good team, though. So, just putting that in there.
Wow, you sound a little bitter, like your team blew it or something.
Oh, yes, very, very much so. I think would love to see have seen the rematch, but got tripped up too early on. One of the things you mentioned, how you didn't realize, like this morning, had a target on your back. As a Duke fan, always know there's a target on your back. I knew this was coming, but it just comes a little bit faster than I realized. Of the Mullins shot, it's up there, and I knew, we all have these sports moments, whether they're good or not. I feel like probably more of us have the bad plays that are just etched in our mind. It's the David Tyree catch. And it's a trigger warning kind of a situation for us sports fans. Of like, you need to be aware of it. And I know I could tell the start of the Tyree catch play, and I know to just like change the channel, walk away, do whatever I have to do so I don't have to see it. But the Mullins shot is still pretty new, so I'm at the stadium for the Final Four, and they're doing the highlight for the first game with the lead up, and it's the UConn, and there it is right there. Where Duke has the meltdown last year, but in the Houston game, there was no specific moment. And that Mullins shot, it's a specific moment, knew it was going to be the moment, knew it was going to be forever, but just, it's not even a week later, and already it is just part of the hype video in the arena, especially have to be there, have to be sitting next to UConn fans, and I'm just so glad they didn't win another national championship, especially another national championship while I was at the in the city.
It's the best shot. It's the number one shot. It's the number one tournament shot. I know they didn't win it all, but that shot was crazy.
No. Hold on.
You're gonna give it over to Leitner?
Always over 08? Oh, you mean all time?
Oh, all
not
time.
Not just this tournament.
Oh, all time.
That's crazy.
Over Leitner? Yeah. No, I thought this was way more exciting. Way wilder.
Sorry that
way wilder.
The 1990s graphics don't do it for you.
You know, the only misconception about all of this is that UConn didn't.
What about no? Hold on.
You don't want to move on from this? I had to defend this.
All right, we're getting.
Wait. Go ahead. What was more exciting?
We have the playoffs. We after that we're gonna have a bunch of downtime. This could be one of our off where we actually like go in a deep dive. But just off the top of my head, immediately the Villanova buzzer beater for the championship over UNC. That has to be better than this one.
That one's really good. That one's really good.
That's just one. Again, that was one I was in person for, so I definitely hold that as like the tippity top for me. I mean, I'm sure we can go in and look for craziest ones, but look, we don't even try to come up with ideas right now.
I guess that one was more like they're all unbelievable, right? So it's kind of hard to say like the Duke one was so irrational that it was even more unbelievable, versus the other one felt somewhat rational and still unbelievable, but like it shouldn't have happened is really what it was. But what I want to talk about is we could maybe talk a little bit more about the actual game here. Is there's this misconception that this UConn team is like a good shooting team. They didn't have one good shooting game this entire tournament, and they made it to the championship game, and arguably could have won the championship game at certain points. It felt like they could have taken it back, even down to the last second here. But that shot makes it feel like this was some miraculous shooting team. Like this guy was hitting Curry threes like the entire tournament. They didn't have one good game, and yet they still ended up here. Well, I don't know what this team was good at, but they were better than everyone else at basketball ultimately. Can you pinpoint what they did so well?
I I don't think they're a particularly good shooting team, but I think that the offense that Hurley runs, it's a very modern offense, and I think he knows when to pull certain levers. And I think what they're also good at is it's almost like a Belichick level of we just don't play exactly the same every single game, and just we're just gonna run into the wall no matter what. Like they'll speed up the tempo or slow down the tempo like as they need, as well as there's just some sort of confidence that they have of Michigan was by far the better team, and Michigan is winning at halftime. Maybe not comfortably, but they got the lead, and then UConn takes it by a little bit. But it's like this is Michigan's game, and Michigan didn't even hit a three in the first half, where they are a good shooting team. And still, UConn is just hanging around, and that's what it seems like they continue to do, of just hang around. And it was the thought that if we can just make it so it's close, if you panic at the end, and Michigan was getting very close to panicking at the end. Caravan hits that three to take it from 4-1 under a minute, and I think Michigan might have panicked because it gets to that. This game should have been over. We are the better team. This should be over. What is happening? And I think UConn just tries to stick around until like there's that last kill shot, and that's where they've gotten teams time after time, especially in the tournament.
I think Michigan's the better team. They were bigger, they were stronger, they were more physical, defensively and offensively. They just thought they had advantages. That being said, I think UConn's going to be haunted by this game because if you look at the box score and the way Michigan shot and how close it was, if UConn had just made any shots at all, I think this is the type of game it was going to take for them to win, and they didn't win it. I think this is what's going to haunt them a little bit because I do think there's a scenario that they could have won, like you said, if things just went right, and they kind of went that way, and they just couldn't get the shots to go in. And that's really as simple as it was in a single elimination game. You're gonna need that to go your way when you're undersized in this way. But do you think they'll be haunted by it? Because I think this is kind of the game script that they wanted, and they still lost.
Oh yeah, you go against Michigan. I think if like at the end of the day, or afterwards, you don't tell them what the score is, but you say you held Michigan to 2 threes. Like you feel good about that, and it's like, oh yeah, for sure, we must have won. We probably killed them, and that was not the case.
What's the ceiling of this Michigan team? I'm hearing some all-time talk. There's obviously some dominance. There's some Ken Pom numbers that are certainly up there with some other teams that they competed against. I'd say Arizona in the Final Four was another kind of one of one. I'd say Duke-esque sort of like, and they just slapped them around. Where are you ranking this team?
It's hard to do like these rankings, especially like the next day of just all the eras are just so different, and you got to be careful comparing the Ken Pom numbers because the Ken Pom you see just like the number next to it, and it goes, oh well, Michigan was a 39.7, so let me compare that to other years, and so it can at least maybe give you like a list to start off with, but the 39, it's saying like that Michigan is 39 points better than the average team. So it also has to do with like how the average of the league is. So I mean, phenomenal year for them. They only lose 3 games, only 1 game out of conference. So anytime you do that, besides last night, I mean, their lowest scoring output was 90 points. I don't know if it was the record, but it was definitely up there for I think it might have been the record for amount of points going into the championship game, as well as the point differential going into a championship game.
All right, you watch the game. I'm hearing some complaints about the referees. Are you capable of an unbiased opinion on this? I didn't think it was this bad. I thought they were some bad calls both ways, but I didn't think it was very favorable one way or another. I thought all the players were trying to get away with things that they shouldn't have been trying to get away with, and when they got caught with it, it was kind of like, well, they might have let that go on some plays, but you still shouldn't be doing it. Just because you got away with it once doesn't mean you get to, everyone's holding everybody this whole game. The swing throughs were just getting calls left and right. because it should. You shouldn't have your hands on guys playing defense that way. I didn't really have much big of an issue with it. Did you see an issue with anything?
I could see where UConn fans would be upset in the first half. There was a free throw discrepancy. I thought that Hurley was going to take care of it. But if you watch, I mean, the Michigan players are just bigger. So that's just what happens when a team is bigger. All throughout the year, Michigan was one of the leading teams that in drawn fouls per game. Again, probably because they're so big. So where there were times where Michigan was able to go up for rebounds, and the UConn players just were not able to get for those unless they fouled. And so that's the first half. Then the game is still very much competitive in the second half, where because I remember when it was, unfavorable for UConn in the Duke game. The next next half, Duke has 6 fouls like before the first timeout. I clocked it. The UConn did not get into the bonus until the under 4 timeout. So pretty much the end of the game. So you can make the complaints as well as from what I was seeing. I think that it was the main person was Cadeau that was doing it. He was baiting the UConn players into fouls. Where I don't know what the UConn players expected. Where was it a little more ticky tack? Sure, but like Cadeau baited them in and then forced the referee to make the call. So I think it was more. I think it was more smart on Michigan and how they played the game, and it was just UConn had to have this be like a nasty game. They weren't as talented, and so they were going to have to get a favorable whistle, and they didn't get it this time. Hurley wasn't able to concoct that magic that he's been able to do for many games now.
I still think Michigan missed some calls too, though. At the end of the half, what happened there? Now, first of all, that should have been a travel, which you could have easily called. I would have no problem with.
I think it was a foul. I think it was a foul first, and then a travel.
But they didn't call anything. It was like, no, we're just going to walk away. We're going to treat this like it's the end of the game, and we can't do anything here. I just thought there was too much that happened on that one play to just walk out of the half on. It was like, no, we need to address something of the 5 things that just happened in the last 10 seconds here.
It sure seemed like it was a foul on UConn to me, but that might be the bias, at least right there. But the rest of it, I watching it, that's really what I was thinking.
Are you keeping up with the Hurley suit story?
Question. So speaking of the fouls, what did you think of that hook and hold flagrant?
What do you want me to say? Yeah, sure. It doesn't matter what my opinion is now. They're going to officiate it differently every game they look at it. It just depends on the angle and the guy that does it and the emotions of the game at that time. It's fine. I'm not defending either side. I've seen worse calls. I'm not going to get worked up. I got worked up over way more important things than this. There's nothing to get worked up on this. I think it's way ridiculous to do that.
I think it was an inflection point of the game. I think that it was a foul that was called in the right way. I just think we came up with this hook and hold rule that it just doesn't. I would like it as a fan to be able to understand it more, where it just seems like this goes on all throughout the game, and then all of a sudden, like one play is reviewed, and an arm is clamped, and so it's a hook and hold, and that's a flagrant. And I would just like to see. We already have a flagrant policy. Why do we also need this other policy as a part of it? I would just like that to be streamlined.
They're never going to explain that kind of stuff to us. It's different every game. I don't.
Well, it shouldn't be that should not be the case.
It's not ABS. I don't think it's quite as simple as that.
And that I agree with, because a lot of times when you show the replay, or even if it's not a specific replay for the hook and hold, it's just a foul on a rebound. It's like if you look at the start of the play, it's I'm hooking and holding you, but then as the play morphs on, the arm angle changes, and now you've clamped my arm, and you're the one doing the hook and hold. So, like I said, I would just like it to be streamlined, just easier to understand as a fan, and just called more consistently, so it's just smoother.
I think that's going to be one of the hardest ones for refs because, as you're saying, it's a storyline, right? It's like who hooked first, and you don't know, and then you see they're hooked, and you might not even be able to see from certain angles it can look completely different. You've seen replays where the refs are currently standing; they might not have the best view on what actually happened. It could be covered up. It could be in the way. It could look like nothing. It could look like the other guy is guilty. I don't think it's as quite as easy to officiate. That one was funny, and the game was honestly the Final Four was kind of a bunch of dead games. Right, this game got all exciting towards the end. Like Illinois, UConn, that wasn't a game. Arizona, Michigan, that wasn't a game. So these sort of reviews in games that were dead were just brutal times, just rough times. Just can we just keep it moving? I know what I want this to be, and this isn't anywhere near it. Can we just fast forward? A mercy rule would have been wonderful this past weekend. My real takeaway from the Final Four, and you were there. What the hell is this Chainsmokers concert in between the games? Do they always have a concert? And do they always show it on TV? I don't go to these games. You've been to the Final Four. I don't remember seeing this on TV, and maybe I've just tuned it out because I didn't watch it, but I tuned in this time. I'm shocked with the amount of feedback we're getting from all this, but you were there. What did you think?
As far as the concert went, it's like the Chainsmokers. They play popular music, and it's from from kind of the prime era for me. So it was, oh well, I know these songs. Like, this is cool. Since it was Saturday and I was there, it's like, all right, cool. Like, I already knew this was going to be a late night. No problem. But I could definitely see. I was for sure surprised by it, and I I I don't get it. But this kind of goes with like the Super Bowl halftime. But with the Super Bowl is a long, game with the Super Bowl with all the stuff going on. If you just break it down, you know, basketball game is college game is plus hours. But let's say like just ends in 2 hours. Well, you can't start the second game until a half an hour after that. So the fastest that this could go is 4.5 hours. And so really this is like a 5 hour chunk of like tip off to final buzzer. So you're getting in, even earlier than that. It's a football stadium. It takes a while. So this is like a long process. So to add in a concert midway through, it is just very bizarre.
I had no problems with the Chainsmokers. I'm with you though in the scheduling where I'm like looking at the clock, being like, all right, so we only had 2 games today. I'm still recovering from all the 10 p.m. plus games you had a week ago, and we only have 2 today, so we don't need. It doesn't need to start at 9, and somehow
And it's Saturday. It's Saturday. People will watch college basketball and college football all day long. Starting at noon. And I'm not saying you should start at noon, but if you're going to have a half-hour concert in between, well, don't start it at 6. Start it at 5 o'clock. Like, is it exactly on prime time? Well, no, but it's Saturday. It's not like you got to worry about people getting out of work. So I would say if you want to have a concert, do that. Again, this is where I'm trying to, expand my horizons here and say this isn't for you. But it kind of was for me because I'm the one that's there. I'm the one in the stands watching this at the Final Four. There are other events that go on, and one of the competing events is on the off nights. They do have concerts, but when you go, and these are free concerts for the 21 Pilots. People were lining up like at 9 o'clock in the morning for like the night show, and I guess because it's a free ticket. But when my dad and I walked around the concert on Sunday night, it is just interesting because all throughout the week you're doing all sorts of basketball stuff, and you're with like a basketball crowd, and for sure there's overlap, but a basketball crowd and a concert crowd, they're different. There's a different feel to it. There's a different. You see different things. You see different types of people, and so just to have it during a basketball game, it'll never be for me. I'll never really understand it. I came here for the Final Four to watch great basketball games. Unfortunately, on Saturday, those games, for sure the second one was just a blowout. I think the first one, maybe when you're watching on TV and as it gets to be a blowout, you just mute it. You're kind of watching something else. You just keep it on, on the side. But I think it was Illinois was favored. We thought Illinois was the better team. So them going down to UConn was, okay, they're going to make a run. And they kept it like below 10 or like just below. Like, it never really got all the way close, but it was always just within range. And that Illinois, for sure, early in the week had the most fans there. It helped being orange because orange really sticks out. But I think that kind of added to it. So when they scored, it felt like it was more points. They get a bucket. And so it really just brings it from 10 to 8. But the way the crowd reacts, it feels like, okay, now they got it down to 6. So I think that game, at least in person, felt a little more competitive.
I didn't expect the Chainsmokers to be so controversial. I can understand that the Final Four audience may not be, Chainsmoker fans, but I don't know who it's
Do you think it
supposed
was
to
the
be.
Chainsmokers, or do you think it was just a concert? Like it could have been anybody, and it was just wait, why is there a concert?
I wonder if there's obviously no perfect concert that's going to please everybody, but I would have thought this would have been on the more closer to a wider approval list than a lot of other things they could have done. So like to me, it feels like somebody actually thought about this. We make fun of people for not thinking about it. And here they thought about it. They still got killed for it. There's no good way to do this, but I would have just done the timing a little bit different. I also thought it would have been maybe a little helpful if they advertised it because it just kind of popped up in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't know how many songs are they doing. Is this like are they going to do the lineups next? Like because I've seen that before, where it's like one song and then they kind of play background music as they do the walkouts, and they played a lot of songs. This went on for like a good chunk. This was like a legit show. And,
Yeah,
and I'm at the point right now where I'm like, am I even on the right channel? Because they have this thing on TBS, True TV, and TNT, and I'm like, maybe this is like some side stage outside. Where's the game? I can't even see the stage. It's those are the only confusing things of it. And this is somebody who's watched every single minute of this entire tournament, being confused in your Final Four. I don't. It's not really an issue, but I don't have those sort of. These things don't happen in other sports. Is what I'm saying. Like, do you have anything else to compare this to? You mentioned like the halftime show, but the halftime show,
I guess like the Super Bowl.
we
Yeah,
know for months in advance, and it's almost advertised as like, please tune in for this. This was just tossed in between.
Yeah,
Very strange.
yeah. I very much missed it that there was going to be a concert in between the games.
Like how far in advance do you think they knew? Like maybe this was last minute. Maybe someone else backed out and they subbed in. Who knows the real reason behind anything? Anything else from the Final Four?
So one thing from the Final Four games, it seemed like Arizona at the beginning of the game, everything was going their way. Where Michigan's in foul trouble, they got injury concerns, and then it doesn't really work. And then it comes out later. Do you think this is true or not? Dusty May mentioned that Cadeau was on purpose missing shots because they knew Illinois had the big men, and so they're trying to attempt to block the shot. So when they go to block it, they're out of position, knowing that Michigan's also got size. So Cadeau was missing these shots high off the glass on purpose, as just basically like a backboard pass to the big men. Does that sound right?
I've only heard this strategy in one other. Actually, probably smart. He was probably calling the game. This was Stan Van Gundy in the Dwight Howard era. He used to yell at his guards that would get blocked and be like, "All you got to do is put this thing on the rim and don't let the guy block it, and Dwight's going to clean it up." It's rational, especially if you're in the paint and you have a huge advantage on the offensive glass. The worst thing you can do is not take advantage of that and get blocked or turn the ball over prior to getting the shot up. I don't think it's as foreign as you think. I mean, you're obviously trying to make the shot, but really what he's translating to, or at least what I have taken away from this sort of coaching, is you have to get the shot off. Get the shot off is really what the lesson is here. It's not miss. It's get the shot off. Don't get blocked.
Okay, because if you get blocked, then it's going the other way. It's a free ball where a rebound is a little less, especially if you're doing it in a tactful way. So interesting to see. We'll see if there's any sort of trend that continues there. Another possible trend: Michigan, all the starters transfers from somebody else. Do you think this is a one-off, or do you think that we are going to see going forward that the teams that win the championship are going to be made of all transfers?
I think it's gonna be all older guys for forever from here on. I don't think it's gonna be young guys.
So one and done. One and done is over.
I'm not saying it's over, but I just looked at the safety blankets like Caravan. Every time he had the ball, I was worried as somebody rooting against him. If I was rooting for him, there's nothing but comfort with that guy. Like there's something about doing this a couple years, or something about being in this Final Four multiple times that just helps. You can see the difference, and you're not going to get that out of somebody who may be better than Caravan, maybe more skilled. Maybe DeBence is obviously way more talented than him, but he's not. He's not the safety blanket. He's not that comfort.
We don't get obviously don't get back to back in college basketball. Like there's not these dynasties. You have these blue bloods, but to get to even just to get to the Final Four repeated years is very difficult. So Caravan being in the position to win his third in 4 years, not even some sort of a COVID year or so it's technically 5 years, and so none of the other schools. It's like you start going through the list, like only guys on these lists are the UCLA guys from way back in the day, and that was before the tournament was at least 64 teams. So just to be in that mix, very impressive. I am definitely interested in the transfers, as that's kind of new. I am interested because Dusty May came from Florida Atlantic, and got them to the Final Four. That was only 2 years ago. So you're looking at it and you're seeing, okay, he got some transfers, but usually when a coach, especially a coach like him that's moving up, will take some of the guys that were on that team with him. So just wondering if he took advantage of the transfer market initially, because you kind of have to get things going, and you recruited the guys previously. And so just going forward, is it the transfer part, or is it Dusty May, or is it just a combination of everything?
Well, not every school is going to be able to get the right one and done guys. So what I'm saying is, I feel like for a while there, it was a list of the one and done guys went to all the blue bloods, and then you would get whatever was left after that. I don't know if you want to get whatever's left of the young guys anymore. You're probably better off getting whatever's left of some of the older guys. And maybe some schools have always been going in that direction. I'm just saying now with NIL, you can literally completely invest in that direction now. I think, or at least it depends if you're just not one of those blue bloods. You have options, but I don't think you're going to go try to get the rough diamond in the rough one and done guy anymore. I think you're going to try to find some forgotten role players on some experienced teams.
As a fan of a competing team, what do you think about the people that are saying that Michigan just went and bought their championship?
I think every other team can try and buy it. See how easy it is. It's not that easy. Go ahead. You think it's just money? Throw money at all of this. We're going to talk about UNC's new coach. I mean, they got a basketball history and all of this. You think you can just throw money at all this and it'll just fix everything?
I don't think so. To me, that is it's loser talk. So I was wondering if I could get you to fall into that trap of saying, "Oh yeah, that's all they did. They just bought the team." But you can look at a whole bunch of teams that are spending lots of money and did not have this success. So I think that obviously it helps, because you're going to hopefully pay the better players more. But it is not just a easy. You take a look at a list and go, okay, well, we're going to get the best ones from here. Like the players have to gel together. They have to play at the right time. They have to play a full 40 minutes. And I think that's just just once you start to make that excuse, you've just kind of you've lost it.
Well, I don't. Is it purely budget? Like, you think that's why the school didn't? What was that fancy school we found out that it's got like this super expensive campus they were like a 12 seed. They weren't even a favorite in the first round, but they had this
High Point.
High Point. Why didn't they
got
win?
Free ice cream.
Why are they? They seem to be throwing some money at some stuff over there. Why aren't they competing for it? Like, it's not just that. It's so many things. It's a lot of luck. We do all the math. We watch every single game, and yet nobody can ever figure out a perfect bracket. We have all this information on all of these teams, and nobody even comes close to getting a perfect bracket. I mean, sure, maybe you got a better odds of recently on getting these Final Fours, but you really feel like you predicted a whole lot by getting 3 1 seeds and another 2? Like, you really scoped that one out. I bet that took a bunch of research. Like, it's gonna happen, but it's random still, is what I'm saying. And I don't think it's quite as simple as it'll throw a ton of money at all of this and it'll be rational and it'll go that way. It doesn't go that way. It never goes that way. And I think the window in college closes every year. It can open up again. This UConn stuff is fairly new, but like, do you think these teams could just bring guys back and they'll always sort of progress forward? I don't think that's always the case. You want new guys? You want to always bring back the same team?
I just don't. I think that it's changing, and that we've seen that over and over again. Guys aren't gonna stick around. The absolute best guys, of course, are gonna go to the league, and it's just looking to find out, hey, where does it fit the best? Where is where is the best money, and where's the best fit? And so we're not getting rid of. I was just going to say we're not getting rid of transferring, but all of a sudden now the government is getting involved, and so maybe that will come in. It'll limit the amount of transfers, but I don't think we're going back to the old system of you can transfer once before graduation and you have to sit out a year, or you have to get a hardship clause, take it approval, whatever. So I think it's going to continue, and I think it's made the basketball better at the college level, allowing these players to transfer. They're not stuck on a school. You know, you're a point guard. You're stuck behind a point guard that is better than you or is more senior than you. It's hey, I'm going to go somewhere else where I'm able to play, and I think it's helped teams out.
The only thing I would address, and I think we've heard enough coaches talk about it this year, is we need to draw a little bit more of a line on when this is actually over. We've got some older fellas, some guys that touched NBA, certain rosters and all of this coming back, and I'm not saying they should or shouldn't. We need to define that a little bit more. I think that's a little vague right now, and there's been some special cases that maybe you could convince to me, but
what do you mean?
The guys that have been in the G League, I'm saying, that are coming back into college, guys that were drafted by an NBA team came back into college this year. We need to define whether or not that's cool or not, and not let it be a case by case every single time. It's either yeah, no, or no, like yes or no. Like it just needs to be a little bit more defined, and I don't know if we've quite done that yet. And I've heard enough coaches talk about it, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it going into next year.
See, for me, that just seemed like it was just it was something to talk about for sure. But did any of those guys, I'm gonna say the older, I don't know if you could call them like the older guys. They're maybe a smidge older, but nothing crazy. It's not like a 30-year-old. But did any of them make a difference?
No, but you don't think that this could be manipulated so they could? Like you don't think it's possible that this could work, and that we don't want that to work? Like, I almost feel like we were proved right that it didn't work.
If a guy went to the draft, got drafted, went to the G League, has been in the G League for a year or two, and then goes back to college, I guess at this point it hasn't moved the needle. So I don't know why people are getting upset about it.
I just think it's growing a little bit more because those guys, maybe you're right. Maybe those weren't the difference makers, but it's like once we let that be okay, it goes up one more level to a guy that probably shouldn't be okay. And I'm just saying that if this is going to be the line, let's draw it there. That's fine. These guys weren't difference makers. I don't need difference makers coming back into the league is really what I'm saying.
Why not? Why would that not be awesome?
Because I don't think it
would be better. It would be better players in college. Why would better players in college be bad for college?
I guess I just don't like the market for it in the past because it was mid-season.
I don't like the in season. That I guess that would be where I drew the line. Is you have to join the team. I don't know.
Well, how do you first game? Well, how do you get drafted and do that? The timeline doesn't work. That's why we ended up where we're at right here. This guy thought he was going to be in the NBA up to this point, and he was like, "Well, we are nowhere near that point. Can I go back?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." That's the problem. It would be great if we're all okay with it, but they're not along that journey. Things went wrong to get to where we got here. You don't want to go back to college when you thought you were going to the NBA. Like these are mistakes that were corrected. I could see other guys maybe that shouldn't get that advantage, but it's fine. We're gonna hear more about it. There'll be one guy that'll change everything for all of this. Let's move on and talk about some coaches. UNC has a new coach. I think the headline's been a lot more of who said no to them and who they thought they were going to get. How many coaches owe UNC money after they used them as leverage and now have a brand new spanking contract with a ton of extra dollars onto it?
Tommy Lloyd, for sure. I don't know if you saw his contract, but yeah, he was able to leverage a deal that includes a clause that he doesn't report to the athletic director. He reports directly to the president. So I think that the talk was he and the athletic director didn't really get along. So this was easier than possibly losing him. But I don't think you see that very often.
Michael Malone, former Denver Nuggets head coach. They won a championship, so obviously some success there. I'd describe him as pretty stubborn, pretty tough guy. I think that sort of element will transfer over to college very well. I don't worry about his coaching abilities. I don't worry about him communicating with younger people. I don't think he cares about age. He is going to yell at you regardless for whatever reason if he feels necessary. I worry a little bit about the recruiting and a little bit about the timing of this, although that apparently might have played into the reason for this hiring. It seemed like Billy Donovan, who's the current Chicago Bulls head coach, was willing to discuss some stuff after the NBA season, but nothing before. We mentioned the portal opening up. It's kind of like college free agency begins today. And Michael Malone being ready to go today, I think is an advantage UNC should have. Do you think they should have waited and considered this out a little bit more, or we got a yes? Let's go with the guy we offered him and he's in.
I mean, especially with these coaches searches, there's a lot of rumors that are out there, and so knowing what's actually true, what other teams are pushing out there, but it sure seemed like in other cases a team found a head coach pretty quickly, and in this case, it kind of waited, and the thought was, and this, was hearing this at the Final Four was, oh, the reason that it's taking so long is because they think they kind of have a deal in place with one of these Final Four coaches. Obviously, they don't want that leaked or to be announced as they're about to play for a national championship. So it was okay right after the national championship. Is that a little bit later? Yes, but it'll be fine because they did extend it. So the transfer portal, players could announce, but it doesn't open until officially today. So that was a change that they made because, in the past it was, well, Final Four is next week, and now we're talking about transfer portal stuff. Like, let's try to make this kind of line up. So I think UNC waited as long as they could, and then they had to pull the trigger.
It's funny to me that I still think this is the best thing for UNC. I think this is a better coach than any of the guys that could have stolen from other teams. Do you agree with that? Because I feel that way. I think they ended up with a better basketball coach. Now, the recruitment and the leading of the program and not doing college before and in a new kind of college era, sure, you can ding us on all of that. But what X's and O's, I think this is the best basketball guy they could have got. Now, there might have been other history with other guys within the school and all that. I almost like that they kind of went outside of all that because I think that was part of the problem from before. So, like, I think you got a better coach than what any of the names they didn't get. Do you think that?
Do you have like a with all your technology and on the podcast side, do you have a way to like do like a quick cut of a soundbite? Because I think you should save this because it's either going to sound awesome in a couple of years or it's going to get thrown right back in my face. So here we go. I'm going to say I think UNC hiring Mike Malone is a great play for someone that's a fan of Duke University. Doesn't scare me at all. Not even a little bit.
I don't think you should be scared. You're Duke. What would you ever be scared of? There's nothing that could scare you.
That a rival, if a rival got a awesome head coach, awesome recruiter, the whole thing. So it's like, all right, UNC has definitely taken a step back in recent years. Now, maybe it was just a Hubie Brown sort of situation, but I think you bring in Mike Malone. I think that just some of the stuff around the edges. I don't think that, or I should say, I do think that he is a good coach. I think when he was coaching the Nuggets, he was coaching Joker, and I think that is helpful. I don't think, but again, it doesn't mean I don't think he was just riding his coattails. I do think the ending was very bizarre. How he was fired, what was it, a week or 2 weeks before the end of the season when they were going to the playoffs. Very bizarre there, as well as his daughter plays on the UNC volleyball team. So it's just it's a little odd. It's a little odd. Are you taking this job because you want to be the college coach? Or are you taking this for a payday? Which I'm hearing he is now a top 5 paid coach in college basketball. And when was the last time a NBA coach came into college and had success?
I'm with you. But they heard no from a whole bunch of people, man. They had to hire somebody.
So UNC has to do it, and this is where you get caught in the middle of you want the flashy coach, so you win the offseason, and then you also want the coach that's good, that is going to win during the season. And unfortunately, sometimes those don't go hand in hand. I was for sure surprised by the hiring. I did not think that they were going to go for a former NBA coach. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I still think even with all these changes and NIL, I still think that the NBA is just very different from college and how you interact with the players, how you build a team. And I think that these coaches' leashes are short. I mean, both in college and both in football and in basketball. Indiana, turned their program around in 2 years. Michigan, they had, Jawan. They were not very good. And then in 2 years, Dusty May turns them around and they're a national champion.
Coaching matters.
Whether it's correct or not, I think that the schools are going to pull the trigger quicker and quicker.
I'm with you. I have no defense to any of it. The only thing I'll say is I couldn't find a solution, man. I couldn't find the guy. Could you find a better guy? I looked. All the guys that said no, and then I really was like Donovan, man. If the Bulls don't make a change, he should just leave. Like I feel bad for him over there. But then the Bulls fired everybody in their general management above Donovan and didn't fire him. So then it was kind of like, well, it sounds like he's getting what he wants over there. Why would he leave then? I don't think UNC could afford to have one more no from even Donovan after they waited one more week and then they're a week back from the whole portal. I think this is the right move. Of all the options I heard, and I'm sure they're all rumors. We don't know what's real and what wasn't real and what was being used for leverage and all of that now. I think this is what they had to do. And you may not be worried as a Duke fan, but you should be worried of a weak ACC possibly being weaker.
Here's a question for you. So I would think, I'm trying to think, a few years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, was if, the UNC job, it's like the UNC, it's basically the Blue Bloods, but, there's even still like a tiered system there. If one of those jobs opened up, it was basically, if you weren't at one of these other Blue Bloods, you would leave your job to go here. And so I think it's very interesting that in the past few years, Coach K is gone. There's a succession plan, so we didn't quite see it. But what would have happened if it was an open situation like this was? Now we're seeing this one with UNC, and then a couple of years ago when Calipari left Kentucky, they also weren't just able to kind of get their pick of the list. So I find it interesting, and I'm wondering if it's NIL or how is it exactly working that these more prestigious programs aren't just able to kind of pick the guy that they want, and they're rather kind of almost behind the eight ball, it seems like sometimes, having to just kind of go with the guy that says yes rather than being able to just have their pick of the best guys.
Well, do you think guys are recovering from these jobs? Like, let's just say this goes wrong. Do you think Michael Malone will coach again? This goes as completely wrong as you could say. Let's give him every worst headline you can imagine next year. Everything goes wrong. Is this unrecoverable? Because that's the only reason you would really say no to all these sort of situations, unless you are very happy where you're at, which is a very good reason to stay. No, nothing wrong with it. I am always for coaches staying. If you want to build something, it's a lot easier to build it if you stay there. You can't just keep rebuilding it, starting over and over and over again. But once you build something at a place like this, it's very different. And I think you could relate to that at Duke over there. You know what it's like. At these schools, and you build it and you're successful and you're part of it all, it's very different and it goes very far. But they'll move on from you if you're not that so fast. So I think some people are hesitant to take these jobs.
I mean, you say that, but Hubie Brown is now getting paid to not coach. So is it the worst thing in the world? I don't know.
Hubie Brown?
No.
Hubert.
What do I mean? Hubert.
Hubie, man, you bring him in. He was 102 years old, man. He's probably better coach than anyone you could have brought in. That's real basketball knowledge, man.
That's what happens after a long weekend at the Final Four, a travel day. I'm rarely doing a podcast on a travel day.
Well, we rarely do it on a Tuesday, and we had to do it because the championship was yesterday. There were some other college games happening as well as another championship. The women's championship happened, and a true talking point, I think, is from the Final Four, of which a very successful UConn coach, Gino, was not so cool in a post-game handshake with South Carolina. I act like you've been there before. I'm so ready to jump all over this guy. I thought this was the worst show of sportsmanship, and if he hadn't won almost every single game prior to all this, I think he'd be in hot water right now in a coaching hot seat. But we can't do that, and I think that's a complete overreaction for somebody who has the resume that he has. But I didn't think this was cool at all. I thought this was so lame, and he should be embarrassed by this. Is it nothing, or is it something?
Well, the season's over, so it turns into nothing. He already issued an apology. Don Staley has come out, and they said they've talked, and they're trying to move past it. But I agree with you. Gino's been around for a long time and has had a ton of success. This seems like the top of, you said, act like you've been there before. I don't think of Gino as a crazy person, where they were undefeated. This was their first loss of the year. It's for sure very frustrating and all of that. But you're a coach. You've been there for a long time. You know how this works. Is sometimes you're not officiated as you would like, but you sometimes have to beat the other team and the officials, and you got to get through that. And I was very surprised that it was such a heated handshake line.
Very out of character. If I was one of his players, I'd feel a certain way because I don't ever get to lose my emotions, and in times I do, he yells at me. He lost his emotions. Somebody needs to yell at him. That wasn't cool. Nobody should be embraced with this.
Do you know what my thought is on why this happened?
Why is it that hard to shake somebody's hand and move on? You can say whatever you want after to anybody. You had to do that right there. You couldn't wait. You had to make a scene about it.
Oh yeah. No, the guy's losing his mind. Do you know why? Maybe Gino was losing his mind.
He lost. They haven't lost him. Did they lose this year?
No. But no, I mean this specific moment. He's lost big games before. I think he's lost to Don Staley in big games before.
Is that why he lost his mind?
No, that is not why he lost his mind. The reason that he lost his mind is because he coaches in Connecticut, and now he's been hanging out. Probably they have offices right next to each other. He's been hanging out next to Hurley all the time. He sees what Hurley does. He sees Hurley's success and goes, you know what? I've been bottling up my emotions, but wait a minute. I could just act like a crazy person. I can make all the eyeballs on the sideline. I can put my head right up against the referee's head and just stare him down, and that's totally fine. You know what? I'm going to go that route. When I have an emotion, I am just going to let it out. I am not going to bottle it up like an adult. I am just going to go crazy, man. And that's what happened.
Hurley would never. I hate to defend him, but he would never. He would never. This would never happen to Hurley. He would never. No coach. No respectful coach would, man. No respectful coach would. Any coach you respect would never do this. Can you think of one coach that would make this mistake that you truly think is a good coach and that actually leads people?
I'm really trying to think because I feel like you're trying to lay me in a trap where I say like no, and then you're like, here is a list of like boom, 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 and these like spots. So I'm trying to think because it's like,
well, you got to
during the game, crazy stuff happens, but it's like once the buzzer sounds like it's over, and especially in this spot of your season's over, it just seems like usually the players are the ones where stuff can happen, but it's usually the coaches that are the ones that realize they can see this on a bigger scale and can just take a step back, and they'll be angry later. But it's like right now, like it's just like you're almost as a fan going like, do you even care? And you're like, in the NBA, the guys just wave to each other. It's like, that's it. Like, you're not even mad. And just, they're not fans. They're coaches. That's what they're supposed to do. And yeah, I was very surprised. Gino, who's someone has been coaching for this long, has had so much success. It just the unprofessionalism of it.
I guess it's not even just would another coach do this that you respect. It's would another coach with this resume ever do this? Like that's really where it's like a no. It's just
well,
it's
not. I'll have to do some research. Maybe for next week.
Man, you don't think Belichick, any of those Super Bowl losses, wanted to be like, screw this? You know how many times he does it?
Craziest handshake line blowups.
It's just shake the hand and move on. You don't even need to make eye contact. I think Belichick's mastered that, where it's like it's a quickish handshake.
That, but we've seen that we've seen it in football. I can't name the specific incident, but we've definitely had icy handshakes. Icy is putting it a little bit mildly. That guys, and it didn't turn into a fight, but there was definitely some animosity that was going on in thinking of NFL games. So,
but you shake the hand and you move on, Zach. All of those controversies weren't really controversies because you shake the hand and you move on. This guy didn't move on. He had it all out there on the sideline in front of everybody. That's.
I think we could find some NFL examples if we dug down.
Maybe,
but I don't think I can really think of at the end of the year. It's like mid-season sort of thing, and probably because it's not as successful coaches.
It's not a good look. I would have never expected it from him. I think that's more of I feel a little let down by that is how everybody should feel. Moving on, NBA, Steph Curry's back. That's about the only good NBA news I got on here. Outside of that,
not just back, like all the way back. Only plays 26 minutes, but like going against the Rockets, who are very much fighting for seed, and has 5 threes, 29 points. Just like has a day, has a chance to win it at the end. It's just one game. They play again tonight, but Steph is just one of these guys that when he's playing, it makes the NBA more exciting. So glad that he's back. Hope that he's healthy, and we'll see if they can make any sort of noise in the playing game.
Well, we desperately need Steph Curry to come back because we could use some exciting games, especially for teams that aren't going to be making the playoffs or aren't making any buzz. We obviously have the tanky teams; their season's done, and the teams that are still alive, those games are good. But the drop off from these Final Four March Madness games to these Final Four of the regular season NBA games is bad. It's not good. I'm watching the same sport that should be enhancing. The season should be, ranking, getting higher as we get up the ladder here towards the season and getting better, and it's just not getting better. These games don't matter. I need the playoffs. They should move the schedule so the playoffs, or at least a playing game, starts this week. So I don't need to watch another lame week of NBA. I'm running high off a buzz of the Final Four and the college championship. We should just carry that momentum out right now because the drop-off's too much. What would you do, Zach? Would you move the schedule up?
You threw this out there. I absolutely loved it. As a fan of both college and NBA, I know there's not a lot of overlap, but love the idea. I was looking into it. If you look, it was I think it was in the last week, maybe week and a half. It was like the biggest margin of victory, in a day in game, and where there were more than 9 games on in a day, where it just more recently happened. I mean, if you look at the standings, it's the teams in the playoffs, and then it's the tankers, and we're looking at it and going, oh, I don't even know if they're tanking this and that, and how egregious are you being? We already had a lot of these, like, not even arguments, but just like we're trying to fix it and everything. But in the East, Miami is the last play-in seed, 15.5. Milwaukee Bucks 25.5. That's a 10-game difference. We go to the West Coast, Golden State 26 games behind the Dallas Mavericks 37. That's 11 games. So I absolutely agree with you. These teams are just playing out the slate, and they're just. You look at some of the guys that the Grizzlies are rolling out there. It's you have to be like the absolute most plugged in basketball guy, and you're still going, I have never heard of this guy before. So, liked your idea. Start it immediately. This is so easy.
Look,
it's super easy.
The solution is a shorter game, a shorter season.
We had the no. I'm not doing tanking stuff. They're not. They're either going to change it or they're not.
No. We need a shorter season.
I have no power.
We need less games.
I have no power. But we'll move. If we move the schedule, Final Four weekend. Monday's the national championship game. Tonight is the first play-in game. So you have Tuesday and Wednesday, the first play-in games. Thursday, Friday, second play-in games, and then you're ready to go for Saturday, and you start the playoffs on Saturday. So you get a little appetizer. There's a little bit, but these games matter. You're not going to turn it on tonight and have to, shuffle through and go, all right, Bulls, Wizards, 2 tanking teams. We got Timberwolves, Pacers. All right, well, Timberwolves are going to win that. We have Bucks, Nets. That's going to be a mess. Hornets, Celtics. That one should be decent. Heat, Raptors. Okay. Jazz, Pelicans, tanks. Kings, Warriors. All right, Warriors are going to win that. Thunder, Lakers. I mean, Lakers are a mess injury-wise. Mavs, Clippers, and Rockets, Suns, in the late slate are like those are okay. But I mean, half of these games are just blowouts that or they're going to be a bunch of guys that are tanking that you're not even going to know.
So the compromise, even though the solution is less games, which we're never going to get, just move the season up a week, or we already know this is happening too. We didn't mention this. The college tournament is expanding. I don't know if that needs an announcement. It sounds like we're going to have an entire first round of games, of play-in games, that's going to take place, I believe, Tuesday, Wednesday, before the Thursday regular first round kickoff, and possibly even Monday. Which I don't know the schedule at all.
How would you do it on Monday?
I have no idea. You couldn't.
That sounds crazy. I mean, I guess it's college, so you can force it, but
it's unnecessary. But what I'm saying with all of that is that could push this more, so the NBA wouldn't have to quite move it as much. It's going to take a little bit of push from both sides here to get that to go a little bit longer, this to go a little bit later. But I think it could work. I think your idea could easily work. The last day of the regular season, every NBA team plays. And then the next day, everybody is off. And the day after that is the first round of the play-in game. There's the Final Four, there's a gap day, and then there's a championship. This couldn't be more easier to fill out here, Zach. It would be so much more fun than what we're getting right now, where I'm ready to watch NBA playoffs. I'm ready for games to matter in the NBA, and they just won't matter for a whole other week. All right, other NBA things we need to move on to that are actually issues here. The 65 game rule is not going away here. This is becoming eligible for all these awards, whether it's Defensive Player of the Year, whether it's All NBA. It's getting real here because down goes Wemby last night, and Luka is going to be out now, of which Luka is doing an appeal process for a game he missed because he went to go see the birth of a child, his child, and his qualifications is he's going to be a game short, and he's arguing that I would have played this game I was healthy and that I should qualify for all these awards because I skipped a game voluntarily. Zach, we got an issue here.
I'm glad you clarified that it was for his child.
Well, I suppose it would. Don't make me. It wouldn't be all right if it were someone else's child. He can't go see. He can't go support someone else.
I'm just trying to think. There's some sort of not even just necessarily NBA, but like the sitcom Wheels Are Turning about a guy trying to get out of work, so he just tells his boss that he's like, oh yeah, I gotta go see the birth of of a kid, and so the boss assumes like, oh, it's your kid, but then like the next week he says it again, and he does it a few times before it finds out like, yeah, there's just an excuse. He's just, I don't know, there's some sort of comedy there. I don't have it all the way flushed out.
Well, the not so comedy part about this is that Luka has also been suspended once this year for having over 16 technicals throughout this whole season, of which he's in entire control of that. That's his control. No one forced that upon him. Those were decisions he made. Especially once you get 15, Zach, you know what you shouldn't do? You shouldn't get the 16 one, and that's how you get suspended, and that's how you miss a game, and that's how you end up playing less than 65 games. Do you have any sympathy for him?
Zero sympathy.
Do you have any sympathy for Wemby?
Zero sympathy. Well, no, I got a little bit of sympathy. If you get hurt, it's unfortunate, but I mean, this is where you're taking a risk when you take days off of work.
So you think he should have? No, I'm not going to make you say it. I'm not even going to ask you. You think he should skip the child thing? No, what you should say is he should have got the suspension, right? We're going to lean on that because that's a way easier argument to make that no one's going to give us crap for. The 65 thing, do you think we have this next year or not?
Yes, I do.
This is here to stay. This is working
because remember, we put this in because we wanted guys to play because the issue was guys were resting so often that we had to put this in place. So if we have a problem, we come up with a possible solution. We put that in place with the games rule, but then it creates this other problem, and then we just get rid of it. Well, then that original problem is just going to come back, and these guys are going to take more and more rest time.
So we have fixed part of the regular season problem by influencing players to play, and the only thing that is damaged in all this are all these meaningless awards, Zach. Of which the only ones that actually aren't so meaningless are the All-NBAs because those factor into the money. You make All-NBA, you qualify for Supermax contracts and all sorts of other bonuses and stuff. I think that sort of stuff needs some sort of solution. Now we're hitting the wall on certain things like this. I think that's where I think an appeals process is a little bit more argumentative.
Isn't it going to kind of be funny, though, that, Luka doesn't play? I don't think he really applies for this, but, a guy is good enough to be an All-NBA, but has maybe some quirky things that happens where legitimate injuries, suspension, a few kids getting born, so misses just enough games. So now the team doesn't have to pay him as much, and they are able to be a better team because they're able to use that money to pay more players.
I hadn't even thought of all that, but that makes so much more sense. That's you're playing chess, my friend. You just blew my mind on that sort of gameplay. That's Brad Stevens thinking. You should take a victory lap on that one there.
Zaire and I, we've been hanging out. We've been hanging out the Final Four. He was scouting and I was around.
Now, Luka's not the only Laker that's going to be out. Austin Reeves is going to be out. I have no idea if they're going to play the first round or not. The timetable on the return doesn't seem likely. Luka getting some sort of experimental treatment in Spain that's going to enhance his hamstring recovery. I don't know enough about any of all this. I don't think you could explain it to me to make any sense of it all. I just wish you good luck, and hopefully that works. But now with those two out, the Lakers not looking super strong, and Wemby being out, the Western Conference suddenly has a completely different look. These teams are going to be in the playoffs. They're not going to fall till they fall out of the playoffs. Their seeding could easily change, but the outlook of the whole Western Conference changes with those injuries. Are you crossing those teams off officially? Like, did you actually think Spurs were a legit title contender?
Yeah, because I think they got OKC's number. I know that it doesn't work when you just because you beat the team in the regular season that you'll beat them in the playoffs, but I think that they'll be able to. And we don't know. I mean, Wemby goes down, and with it only being a week left in the season, is it this is just precautionary, or or what? So I would like to think that even without Wemby, they'd still be able to beat any of these play-in teams, but we're gonna have to see.
They're still a really young team. Wemby is the complete X factor, though. The Luke Cornett having to defend Embiid the rest of the game was just not part of the game plan of what they were prepared to do. It's a good fill-in, but what Embiid was doing when Wemby was out there was very different. It was a completely different approach. I hope he's all right. I want to see what he looks like, and I want to see him play hard in playoff games against other guys that are actually playing hard. Because I think sometimes in these regular season games, Wemby's trying hard, but I think some other guys are a little embarrassed sometimes to try quite as the same effort level as him. But in a playoff game, everybody's playing like that, and I want to see what that looks like. The dunk yesterday was crazy. What a wild alley-oop to Wemby. I've never seen anything look like that. That guy shouldn't be able to do like a LeBron alley-oop dunk like that. It's so crazy. I hope he gets back. Anything else you want to talk about the Western Conference?
Just Lakers having some injuries. That doesn't sound fun for them. I would like for them to be healthy and get beat the old-fashioned way and not have all these excuses of like, well, Luka and Reeves were hurt and LeBron's too old.
All right, quick little Celtics minute. You can give the Celtics any of these NBA season awards. Which one could you award them? Any of them. Which one? You can only get one.
What do you mean?
You can do Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP.
All the
Sixth Man of the Year.
Oh.
You can only reward one
Celtic.
Celtic.
Coach of the Year to Missoula, and you force him to take it.
You force him to take it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go accept it for him?
You tell him it's a life lesson, and he has to take it, and then you have to wrestle him and force him to take it.
That's one way to do it. Yeah, I think you should send somebody funny to go accept it for him. What's the funniest Boston person we could send to accept this award?
The funniest Boston person to accept a Coach of the Year award. I have no idea. This is a crazy question to cook up here.
I don't have a very good solution. I'm just sort of thinking of some sort of sideline celebrity that would be fun to be like, send him. He's at every game. Just make him go do this. Whatever the Tracy Morgan equivalent would be is really what I'm dreaming of. Maybe we just have Tracy go accept it.
No, this is the content. I mean, I don't know when they normally do. I can't remember how they normally do the Coach of the Year, but do it like you do the MVP, where it's going to be like before the game in the playoffs. He clearly wants no part of it, and I hope that the guy introduces and says, Missoula's here, and they go to hand it to him, and he just won't accept it, and they follow him around for a little bit, and then they just put it like at the end of the table. That's closest to the coaches thing, and then it just later on, the game's over, everyone's gone to the locker room, the place is empty, and then somebody just takes a picture of the award still there because Missoula just won't go near it. Just do that.
So we shouldn't hang the banner of Coach Missoula, Coach of the Year. Shouldn't do that.
Well, no, it's not a banner, it's a trophy.
Well, I don't know. You were in some stadiums. They seem to hang certain banners in other stadiums. You were just in Indianapolis over there. There's some.
Yeah, they got a lot of division banners in there.
Yeah, a lot of almost wins. A lot
of division. And it's interesting. That was a football stadium, and they're hanging banners because it's inside. So that was interesting. It's like, oh wow, it's just warm and climate controlled in here, and it's never muddy, it's never rained. It's always just it's basically like Southern California. It's just always nice and just soft there. Huh? It was interesting.
Never forget, never forgive.
Never.
All right, let's play the outro music and get out of here. Let's talk a little bit about this moon launch.
Hold on.
Wait, what?
We got to talk about the bracket.
Oh, did I not do the bracket? I thought I did.
No.
We got a winner. John.
We have a winner.
John J. Picked Michigan. Other people picked Michigan. You picked other picks more correctly.
He had three of the four he got it correct. Connecticut versus Michigan, and Michigan winning. My dad was actually right in the running. If Connecticut had won, he was going to win. He was very conflicted as he likes to root for the local team, and UConn's the local team, but he also has ties to Michigan with my sister going there for grad school. So he had his some of his Michigan in attire. So he was definitely a little bit torn last night during that national championship game. But no, John Jay is the champion. So we sent him his money. We sent him his T-shirt, and I'm already looking forward to next year. The road to Detroit starts right now. Duke is the favorite to win next year. Michigan State not too far down the list themselves, and Detroit seems like it's gonna be a pretty cold Final Four. But I look forward to showing up with my coat, and hopefully there's maybe some other teams from the South that are there, and their fans will be all cold, and it'll be tough for them.
Thank you to everyone who entered, and remember to subscribe. Little of column A, little of column B podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
I didn't have a good bracket. Wasn't my year. Wasn't my year. But you know what will be my fun thing of next year? And this is going to be infinite for the next couple of years. We're all just going to be waiting to see what goes wrong for Duke next. We're all just waiting to see what happens. It's not going to go away. You think it's just going to be a year and the calendar's going to flip over and it's nothing is going to matter until March. Nobody's going to care at all. You guys can win every game by 100 in March. We're just waiting.
Nice. I would love to win every game by 100. How could it get worse?
It can't. It really can't. And that's going to be the rude awakening.
That's what I said last year. How could it get worse?
It's got to
be a championship game.
That's the rude awakening.
Something terrible happens in the championship game.
That's the rude awakening for us, is that you guys are going to be good, and this is going to come back, and it's going to clap back harder than anyone's ready for. We're going to get all our laughs in. You blew it with Cooper Flagg. You blew it with Cam Boozer. The next one of those is coming, and they're not going to blow it. It's going to happen, and we can enjoy these moments. That's the joy that I'm taking one more victory lap on this year, and I Doomsday's coming. They're going to get this right. That Shire guy is not a bad coach. It's just unbelievable that you guys blew those back-to-back years like this. I don't think it'll happen quite as often, but I'm waiting. I'm just waiting to see, because it might. It just might. And one more time, it's going to put a smile on my face like this more time.
I am just waiting for the luck to swing the other way, and I am going to be insufferable when it happens. So just prepare yourself for that.
You have every right to. Did you want to talk about the moon launch?
Yeah, so kind of snuck up on me a little bit, but the Artemis 2 launched. It's a rocket trip around the moon, and just very impressive. We have not gone to the moon in a long time, and I work in aerospace, so there's definitely a lot of people that are more excited than me. And so when I saw that the launch was happening last week, I definitely got into to watch it. It's pretty crazy that it only takes a rocket 8 minutes to get to space. Also impressed that it only takes four days to get to the moon from Earth. So I was impressed. You seem much less impressed, but it seems like if we as a planet are doing something like going to somewhere beyond Earth, maybe we'll be podcasting from the moon someday. That it should at least be mentioned.
Look, impressed and impressed by the content are two different things. Is it impressive that something's in the moon? Yes. Do I need to watch it as if it's just another end of a Zoom call? No, because that's what it is at this point. It's like, it's very cool. It's cool for them. It's not so cool for me. Is all I'm saying. It's really cool for them. I'm happy they're going. I'm happy it's all happening. There's an entertainment in the act of it. But I don't need to watch a bunch of science nerds on a Zoom call on the other end answer a bunch of questions to be entertained in an afternoon. Am I evil for that? I'm a bad guy for that?
I know that March Madness was not too long ago, that you have the command center, and that of the four screens you could have quad box the other one, that not one of them could show a rocket that is going to the moon. It was on in the evening. It wasn't really going against anything else. That it was a 10-minute. It was basically a long video. That was I don't know, not impressed. It's okay, all right. I'll try to find something that's more impressive next time.
No. You know what? I should give it on this. There's not enough things that we all universally watch together, and you gave me a chance to be part of that. There's not a lot of TV things where we're all just tuned in for this. I think that was one of them, and I was happy to do it. But it's also something that I could watch in a 30-second highlight later, and it's like, yeah, all right, there it goes. And if you're watching it live, I'm being honest, the only something can go wrong. If you're watching it live, so everything can go perfectly fine.
That part is absolutely right. You're absolutely right there.
There was a little uneasiness of watching it live for that as well. Of like, well, what am I really watching and waiting for here? It's like, this should just go like this. I know exactly what this should look like. And if it doesn't look like that, I don't know if I want to be watching it. But they'll be back
Successful
soon.
So far. So that's good. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
All right, let's play some outro music and get out of here. I don't know how we managed to get all that into the podcast today. Full hour plus. Next week, we'll do NBA awards and playoff predictions because the season will end next Sunday and we'll be kicking off on Monday for the play-in games.
Yep.
And we'll be back on Monday again next week. We only did Tuesday this week because the championship was yesterday, Monday night. Travel. You made it. Any stories from your travel?
Made it? No, it was a fun trip. I still, even after the terrible loss, I got a bunch of questions if I was still going to the Final Four. It's like I had put in for the lottery. I had made plans way before that day. Going forward, the lottery for next year is going to open up. Like I said, it's in Detroit. I will put in for that lottery. First getting to Indiana, it was warm weather. It was nice, kind of summertime. The second half of the trip, it was much colder, much closer to like early spring. And I kind of forgot that half of the reason that I really like the Final Four is because it's been in Texas, and so it's a shorts and t-shirt kind of trip. But I'll power through for Detroit. It's so cool. You go to the practices, the teams are there, especially the first 2 days. There's just this excitement throughout the city because everybody that's there, they made the Final Four. Yeah, there's a nervous energy. Everybody's just like they're in like a good mood, but no one's a jerk. No one's peacocking around too much. You never know who you're gonna see. As we were leaving this morning, I was at security. I was getting my bag out, and I turn around, and in the other line there was Jim Boeheim. You just never know who you're gonna see from the college basketball world.
Way too many people. I don't want to be around that many people. The football stadium turns me off. If it was in a basketball stadium at like MSG, I'd tolerate it. But the football thing is like, no, I don't need to be in here with this many people for this. I'm just not going to be as passionate as the people that really want to be there. And let them be there. But do you think they need to rethink this sort of ticketing thing with you buy the Final Four and you get to go to the finals as well? Your team's eliminated in the Final Four, which you said was majority Illinois people. That finals game must have been empty.
No. I mean, it's way easier now than it used to be. So you just put your tickets up for sale online. You sell them. It's very easy. My uncle, who has been to the Final Four before that, he mentioned that it used to be when a team lost, there would be a guy with cash in hand that would just be in the stadium at the row and would just be handing out money, getting those tickets to be able to resell them later. So that sounds very complicated, much more shady, where right now there are a ton of third-party sites. And even though the official Ticketmaster, they have a third-party site. So if your team loses and you absolutely want to get out of town, you can do that and you can still recoup some of your money.
We'll be back next week. Little column A, little column B. College basketball is over. It is now officially NBA season and possibly even some NFL stuff around the corner. Are you ready for football? Almost.
I am not ready for football.
We'll be back.
Little column A, little column B.